ladies and gentlemen, to the BestBall Roundtable. We are here talking about the 2024 U.S. Open that is at Pinehurst. We've got a great group around the horn here. David Kirsch, Joe Fellini, and Jonathan Hill. This is Robbie Woodard. Appreciate you guys joining us. Just to give a couple shout-outs for other things we got going on with Best Ball. So the Whole Story podcast, Jonathan and I have had some incredible guests. We had Matt Gibson, who works there at Pinehurst. He's like the digital creator guy. So if you're on Instagram and you follow the Pinehurst Resort account, he's the guy. So all the videos and photos and stuff, it's him. We had him on for an interview. We had Lee Pace, who's he's in Chapel Hill. He writes and has written a number of things about the golf in the Carolinas. He's talked about the restoration of Pinehurst, all those fun things. He was a great interview this past week, and then this week we have the Pinehurst photographer, John Patota. So that'll come out Thursday, the day of the first round of the U.S. Open. So also want to give a shout out to one of our good sponsors, a good friend of the program, Western Birch. We've talked about them before, but they make incredible golf tees. You can customize them however you want. We've got some with the Best Ball logo, some cool colors, but you can do the same. You can upload your logo, you can pick out the colors you want, and they really are the most durable tees ever. Jonathan and I have played with them a number of times, and we laugh that, man, we got a lot of golf tees. We're going to have to give some of these away because we're not even breaking them fast enough.
You just can't break them.
They are really, really good. But let's jump into the roundtable, and we got to start. Today is Sunday of U.S. Open week, but we've got to start with really one of the biggest stories in golf. A guy named Scotty Scheffler. I don't know if y'all have heard of him, but he won another tournament today. Let me just give some stats. It's his fifth win of the year. I think Kirsch had mentioned one time he didn't win from May on before, so maybe he's broken that streak. But he's won the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the Players, the Masters, the Heritage, and today he won the Memorial. So just in his winnings, just for first place, he's won $19.7 million. Guys, what do y'all think of Scotty Scheffler? Do you think he's going to make it?
Well, after taxes this year, he's got a new baby. New babies add a lot. But maybe he had a really good baby shower.
You think he'll get a tax credit for that baby?
He might. And Joe mentioned that in case he needs help, they do have $8 tickets on StubHub for practice rounds. So if he can't make it in on Monday and Tuesday, if he hasn't already got his spot, then maybe he can figure out how to pay for $8.
But seriously, though, his play, I mean, it's ridiculous. Joe, what do you think of it?
I thought, after yesterday, I was thinking, I'm not so sure this guy's, I mean, he's still at a four-stroke lead coming in, but I'm thinking, oh, this might get interesting now on Sunday. And it did for a little while again. It seems to happen, every so often that somebody will make a little run at him, and then he's just like, nah, we'll just stay right here. Yeah, I don't think he had his best golf today, but he had golf that was good enough to win for sure.
Yeah. Kirsch, you kind of gave us some stats when we did the PGA preview, and mentioned that he normally wins most of his stuff early in the year. What's your thoughts on Scotty right now?
Hey, he still hasn't won after June 9th. So we've got the jury is still out. All right, so these are some more amazing things from Scotty Scheffler. First person since I think 1962 to come into the U.S. Open with 5 wins. Arnold Palmer, the only other person to ever do it, and he did it twice. He's lost to exactly 9 people in the last 8 tournaments. 9.
That's crazy itself.
Oh, that's not even the crazy one. Since March 10th of this year, Scotty Scheffler has more wins than Xander, Tony Finau, Matt Fitzpatrick, Bryson, Hideki, Sam Burns, JT, and Wyndham Clark combined since 2020.
Wow.
That's insane.
Wow.
So he may be the favorite this week, is what FanDuel and some other gaming sites may have him as the favorite. But yeah, no, it's the Memorial is a tournament that I absolutely love because it's in Ohio. I've been lucky enough to play that course, and it was amazing watching all those fans and to see it play like a major and to identify who are the best players right now. And, this is the third tournament out of the last four in which Morikawa and Scheffler have been hanging around each other and been up near the lead. And to have them both get up and down there on 18 and to have Scotty make that putt to do it was pretty special.
I think you sum up how good he's playing because Joe said, he wasn't really playing well. He did have a 4-shot lead, but he wasn't playing well. And it's like, every time he needs to, he makes the putt, he makes the shot, he makes the right decision, and the entire time in his boring khaki pants, he plays the most boring golf there is to play. And yet all of us, I dream about it every time I go out and play. I'm like, I'm going to play boring golf today. And then it never happens.
You know what's interesting about today, guys? David, is it 16 the par 3 with the water in front? Is that 16?
Yes. Yeah.
So did you see them play that hole today where they both hit it to the right of the green? Yep. And to me, that was the defining moment of Scotty Scheffler right there. They both blow it left. They both hit terrible second shots. And Morikawa misses the putt. He makes the putt.
He makes it.
And I'm thinking this is him to a T right here. That he makes, what was it, an 8-10 footer? No problem.
And it was probably even longer than that. I bet it was a 12-footer, and it was coming off of missing what I would have considered 3 pretty makeable birdie putts in the last 4 or 5 holes. And, 2 of them didn't even sniff the cup. And then he goes up and he pours that one in, and kind of goes back to what everybody always says. If he would just putt average, nobody has a chance. All he has to do is putt average, and, nobody can beat him.
And if he didn't have an arrest on his record, he might have another major and a 6th win on the year. So, yeah. It's hard to stop him right now, even in handcuffs or whatever else he's doing. But, yeah, so that takes us. It's U.S. Open week. A couple thoughts just on the U.S. Open. One thing that I love, and I wish Bradley was here to kind of talk more about it, but it's open to any professional and amateur golfer with a handicap index not exceeding a 1.4. So, Joe, you and I have played. You're a pretty good golfer. Kirsch, I've never played with you, but I imagine you're pretty good. Jonathan, I don't think you're a 1.4.
You have to move the decimal point before we get to my handicap.
Maybe just take the decimal out.
Right.
But so it's open. I think that's really cool. It's open to good players, and it goes through a couple of stages of qualifying. You've got your local qualifying, and then you have what they call the longest day in golf, a 36-hole, 10 different sites across the country, and a handful of players qualify. Even some professionals, Webb Simpson, some others, have to qualify to get back, which is crazy. He won a U.S. Open, but his exemption has ended. But you can qualify to get into the U.S. Open. What do you guys think of the process, the opportunity for players to play their way into the U.S. Open?
I was surprised that they let anybody try to qualify this year without an asterisk, since Taylor Gooch wasn't gonna give that a run.
He could have tried.
I absolutely. I thought it was great, David. I'm gonna be I know I'm the live basher on this on these roundtables, but David Puig from Spain has been phenomenal, and he's had a really good year on the 54 tour, but he has gone in every single off week, gone and played Asian tour events. He's got a win. He's working on his world ranking, trying to get it up and up and up. Went out and won his qualifying location. Zach Blair came right off of the top 20 in Canada, came down. He won his. I think he won his in Springfield up there in Ohio. There was so many guys that went out and that are established names that went out. The Adam Scott, going into it with Cam Davis and battling in a playoff, and now just today,
in the dark.
Yeah, and today Adam Scott got in by 1/1000th of a point in the world ranking.
How about that? Well,
you jumped over.
Yeah, I know he knocked somebody out. Well, one person you didn't mention, you talking about big names, a guy named Colin Prater, who's a science teacher, 29-year-old science teacher in Colorado, who did the final qualifying in Bend, Oregon. They only had 2 spots available, and he held off and was the second qualifier there. And hopefully, Jonathan and I have been in communication with him, but we might get to interview him sometime this week as he prepares for his first U.S. Open. But it's just a cool story. I mean, I hear a science teacher doing something like this. I'm like, ooh, Breaking Bad. Like, it's but it's a cool story, man. You got to pull for something like that. Like, it's really cool. Bradley, Jonathan, maybe you can fill us in more. Bradley last year made it past local qualifying into the final stage, correct?
He did, yeah. And that's, it's kind of like they always talk about in the Olympics. They wish they would put like somebody that's a regular golfer, a regular whatever in the Olympics, so we could really understand the level and the difference at which these guys play. And you think about the thousands of people that go through all the events, no matter what course you're playing, and a handful get picked. And then it's a story if they make the cut. It's a story if they're doing anything that seems reasonable. And yet we watch the professionals play every single week, and we're like, well, how come no one's 10 under? And so that's my favorite part about it, the fact that you could get somebody out there, and we're going to talk about later, obviously, with number 2, how you could go play number 2 and see exactly how you would fare against the pros in that conditions. But that's probably my most exciting part about watching it this weekend, is to figure out who are the science teachers who just happen to be good at golf somehow, and even if it was just that weekend, struck lightning and made it in. So to see the pros struggle to get in every once in a while is kind of fun too, like if their exemptions have gone out. But 90% of the time, whenever they make up their mind to do something, they just do it. So crazy to see.
I'll tell you, I enjoyed watching Harry Higgs get in on Monday night. I think he was up at Duke, wasn't he? I think
he was
qualified at Duke. Yeah, that was fun to watch live.
And he won like the last 2 Corn Ferry events. So
right.
he just seems like a very likable guy. So somebody you want to cheer for. Yep. So, well, we are playing at, not we, but the U.S. Open is playing at Pinehurst. Let me give you some stats. I've got some facts here. Jonathan, you talk about we could go out there and play Pinehurst. Let me give you some facts. This year, it's the 5th time, I believe, that they are hosting the Open at Pinehurst. The 4th, I'm sorry. The 124th U.S. Open will be the 4th conducted at Pinehurst. But it's also now an anchor site, so basically every 6 years it's going to host it again. And the next time in 2029, the men and women will play back-to-back weeks like they did in 2014. But you talk about the course, Donald Ross designed it. Bill Coore, Ben Crenshaw in 2011 did the restoration to kind of bring it back to what Donald Ross had in mind. And we could talk more about that. But Jonathan, here's a stat that I just want to talk about. I played golf on Friday with some friends at a par 71 course that measured 6,076 yards. Par 71. These guys this week on Pinehurst number 2, so they're on a really hard course to start with, 7,543 yards at a par 70. 35 on the front, 35 on the back. So, knowing that you could qualify, Jonathan, if you have the handicap to get in there, and you're playing a 7,500-yard course at Pinehurst number 2 with the infamous, notorious greens that are turtleback Donald Ross style that, don't really hold a pitching wedge, but much less a long iron. Jonathan, let me ask you, how do you think you would fare at Pinehurst?
From the tips? Or can I play for
7,500 yards? No, man, 7,500 yards.
Well, the only driver I have, which Kirsch made fun of me whenever I played with him, it's broke right now. So I'm pretty sure my 6-iron wouldn't carry me very far in this particular field. But I do feel like my Texas wedge would suit me well because I am more than comfortable from putting from 50 yards out. So if I got 50 yards out, there's a really good chance I would just putt every single time, and I would still shoot a 120. There's no way in the world. There's just... we've played, the closest thing that I've played to anything reasonable like that, it would be Old Barnwell, and there were a number of times where we were just out with friends. I was like, never mind, I'll just stop. So,
yeah, they don't allow you to stop without withdrawing there. So,
no.
Joe, we'll get to you in a second about just the overall buzz and things around Pinehurst. Kirsch, when you hear 7,500 yards at Pinehurst number 2, what does that make you think?
Not as long as it sounds. Because they are having a fantastic set of weather coming in. By all accounts, it may be a little bit of rain maybe today or tonight. But outside of that, it looks going to be dry and hot all week. They're going to bake everything out. Pinehurst number 2 famously only has single line, center line sprinkler heads. So those sprinklers can only go so far no matter what they do. and they're going to want that place to play firm. And you're going to see a lot of guys taking less than driver off tees and hitting it. So they're going to be able to. It's not going to be the length that gets them. It's going to be what you do with that second shot and how high you can hit the ball, what creativity you can use around the greens. That's what 7,500 yards is only if it's wet is that really, really long for these guys. They're going to be able to hit the ball, and it's going to get on the ground, and it's going to go and go and go. And it may go into waste areas, but it's not going to be a length thing. It's going to be how much are you willing to challenge to give yourself the best opportunity to make that second shot.
Yeah, I was going to say, unlike many other U.S. Open venues where you run out of the fairway and you're into not knee-high rough, but really thick, penalizing rough, here you're in waste areas, and you got a lot of grasses and things like that, or they're going to catch your ball, a lot of sand. So hitting it straight down the middle of the fairway might sound good, but if it's running hard, it's going to run right through it sometimes. Mm-hmm. Joe, you've played it. Playing at that length, what do you expect? Are you thinking the same like David, that it's going to not be as hard as it maybe sounds to?
Yeah, I don't think the yardage is the question here. It's going to be those greens, because I talked to someone who played Pinehurst number 2.5 weeks ago, and they said it's already then it was 13.5 on the stem. So and it's been dry here for the last week or so. So
and that was the tee box. That wasn't even the green, right?
right. Yeah. Yeah. So they're going to go, and like David said, who can hit it high. You got to come into these greens high, because these people who told me that they're running that fast, they're also saying they hit some long irons into these greens and they were bouncing 2-3 feet in the air off the greens. So if they can make them as hard as they want to make them. And I remember hearing an interview with JT after everybody lit up TPC Boston one year, and it had rained a lot that week, and he said, you know what, if you give us soft greens, we're all going to score. We're all going to score. He said, it doesn't matter what course we're on, we're going to score.
Well, just throwing out some facts, and again, I want to talk more about Pinehurst in a second, just the course and stuff in general, but last time things have happened at the U.S. Open, so obviously Wyndham Clark won last year. The last international winner was Matt Fitzpatrick in 22. The last person to defend, go back-to-back, was Koepka. The last winner in his first attempt was Francis Ouimet way back in 1913. Keimer was the last guy to go start to finish in 2014. Let's see, Jeff Ogilvy in 2006, he was the last winner without a round in the 60s. Gary Woodland, on the opposite of that, last winner with all rounds in the 60s back in 2019. And then, let's see, Lucas Glover, the last winner to come through final qualifying. Orville Moody, the last winner to come through local and final qualifying. And the last amateur winner, John Goodman, not the actor, was the last amateur winner back in 1933. So, guys, listen, let me ask you this. U.S. Open, all of them, not just Pinehurst. What's your favorite U.S. Open memory? Kirsch, let me start with you on that one.
It was, I think it's got to be, it's really, I honestly, I think the last one, the one that I remember as vividly was actually 99, when, I was thinking about it this morning actually with the French Open on, because it was the last time it's going to be on NBC, and they were showing highlights throughout, and they were talking a lot of things, and I just remembered how synonymous Dick Enberg was with watching with major events on NBC, and that U.S. Open music hits on NBC. It's big time, and you have Johnny Miller, you have all of that. But I just remember when coming down the stretch, you had a true one of those only times where it was Phil, Tiger, and a couple of guys, and then Stewart just kept making putts. And when he made that putt, Payne Stewart, U.S. Open champion. Oh my! It was rainy and misty and not super hot, and it just was weird. And so I vividly remember watching that at my grandparents' house.
Joe, what about you? What's your favorite Open memory?
Well, quick note about that one that I didn't know until this week, that he actually had his caddy that morning of the last round. He had his caddy run into the pro shop to have somebody find a pair of scissors. and all of a sudden
cut his
started
jacket.
a whole
Yep.
fashion trend. Yeah, because now everybody has some zip-offs. Anyway, my favorite was 1988 because I was there. It was Curtis Strange beating Nick Faldo at the Country Club in Brookline. I went to the Saturday round, and all of a sudden they went to a playoff. We said, all right, I guess we're going to the playoff. And I mean, it was nip and tuck. I think Strange had a one-shot lead when they made the turn, and then Faldo bogeyed 11, and that kind of ended it basically. And Curtis Strange went on to win that one. That was a cool one to be at because of the course. Ton of history. When you live in Massachusetts, you don't get on the Country Club unless there's a U.S. Open and you pay to go. So it was pretty cool to walk the course and everything. And the only bad part was I was there. I had tickets for Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Anyway, Saturday and Sunday, and I was all excited because at that time Greg Norman, I was a big fan of Greg Norman, and on Friday he was under a tree and hit a root and messed up his wrist and he had to pull out. And I said, "You got to be kidding me! I was going tomorrow." But still, it turned out amazing to see Curtis Strange win that tournament. It was a lot of fun.
Jonathan, how about you? What U.S. Opens?
2008. You and I were selling copiers. Tiger Woods on one leg. It was probably the first time that I actually decided to pay attention to golf and participate and start swinging clubs in real fashion. And so just to watch that happen, see him on one leg and then realize later broken leg and pull out the rest of the year, that was fun. I mean, it was great to watch. And Rocco Mediate, like you can't mention it without that. Like he went toe-to-toe with him, played great the whole entire time, playoffs, the whole deal. That was probably my first. I mean, I paid attention to Tiger because he was everywhere and you'd watch TV, but I didn't live in the South. I didn't live in Augusta, and I never played golf. So that was really kind of the first time I started really getting involved in golf.
Yeah, that's a great memory. I mean, just watching him make that putt on 18 to force the playoff was ridiculous. Kirsch, you got something to say about it?
Well, I was gonna say, I that Saturday is probably one of my favorite U.S. Open Saturdays. When he had that blue shirt, the black vest, and he chipped in for eagle. He had that one, the birdie on the side where he was completely, and he just hit it, and he did that Tiger Goober, like, oh, can you believe that one in? But it was like, and he made that 80-foot putt there on the par 5 on the back, and I've played Torrey, and that putt's impossible. And the fact that he made it, it was, that Saturday is definitely one of those just awesome Saturdays where it was primetime golf for us on this side of the country.
Yeah. Well, Kirsch, I'm going to go with you, man. I was a Payne Stewart guy. I loved it. I thought, and I've been talking with Seth McWhorter about this, and, we talk all things kind of creative on a podcast called Pictures in the Scorecard, and we've just talked about a lot of the fashion and trends and stuff that are out now that it's not for everybody, but for some reason I was like Payne Stewart in knickers, and especially because whatever area he was playing in, he threw that like NFL logo on. I was like, or had those colors. I'm like, that's awesome. And so I was a Payne Stewart guy, and so watching him in '99 was really cool. And so that to me, and it being at Pinehurst, I wish I could say I was there. I wasn't, but sitting in Columbia, South Carolina, I was definitely watching it happen. So Payne Stewart '99, that's my favorite U.S. Open memory, but. Now we get back to Pinehurst. Long course. Joe, let's go to the local guy on the scene. Kind of give us the picture. You've been there for, 2-3 months now?
Yeah.
Tell us what the town of Pinehurst, what kind of evolution over the last 3 months they have seen or you have seen as they prep for this week.
It's impressive because it's a place that obviously it's not like, let's say, New Orleans when New Orleans gets ready for a Super Bowl. Yeah, you would think, okay, that's clockwork there, which is they're used to it. Pinehurst is the exact same way. They are ready for this tournament. I mean, and everything just was very casual. It's like, okay, we're going to do this now, and then we're going to do this, and then it's like you would think it was Augusta with the Masters being there every year, but it's impressive to watch everything come together. Well, you saw the bleachers up, so those have been up for a while. I saw 2 weeks ago all the TV towers went up because there's one right behind the first hole. But yeah, all of a sudden all the fencing went up, the netting went up. Parking lots are ready to go. The town did a nice job of really beautifying the town. They put out all new flowers around the Rotary and all that kind of stuff. The circle or whatever people call it in different parts of the country. I grew up with it being a Rotary. But But downtown looks beautiful. They did a beautiful job with that. They moved the Payne Stewart statue to the entrance over by the harness track, because that's where most people are going to come in, because that's where the shuttle buses are going to go to. So when you come in now, Payne Stewart's right in front of you, which is very cool. I went to the merch day they had for the members earlier this week. I forget what day we went. It's been such a crazy week. But, you know, the people you talk to, it's the people who have been here for a while, it's very, oh yeah, we got a U.S. Open. We're going to, you know, we know how to do it, and we'll do it. New people like myself are very excited to be here for the first time, and it's, you know, it's pretty neat. But again, everything is clockwork. I mean, they know what they're doing here, and it's really impressive. And I'm sure it helps now that the USGA is on site and their offices are on site and everybody's here, which I think will help tremendously. But what's interesting, and I've heard this, and I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly 25th anniversary of Payne Stewart, Sunday the pin will be the same place it was in '99 on 18. So that'll be cool. That'll be cool for them to do.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it. You know, we were talking. Jonathan and I were talking with Matt Gibson, and he was commenting about, you know, Pinehurst, because it's so many retired folks or people that live there that love golf. Like you really have your volunteer base kind of built in, right? Everybody's there. You're not volunteering this year, are you, Joe?
No, I'm going to do it in 2029. I'll do the women. I'm going to volunteer for the women's side. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, he was just saying, like, the town loves it. They've bought in. Again, like Jonathan mentioned, like, you're either there because you're retired and you love golf, or you're on vacation and you love golf. So, you know, it's not one of those. I think, Jonathan, you mentioned that in Augusta, people are like, they're here again. Yeah. So, yep. Kirsch, what?
They've done it real quick. I will tell you, they've done a nice job for the members as far as keeping courses open, because obviously it's easy to keep 6, 7, 8, 9 open because they're off site. But they have kept 3 and 5 open for us too, which are across the street, which is kind of nice. I mean, parking logistics might be a little hairy for the members to get over there, but you know, they've done a nice job of taking care of the members as well, which I know can be a really fine line.
Well, I was going to ask you that later, and Kirsch will come back to you in a second, but let's kind of give people a picture of what courses have closed or what holes have closed because I know the Cradle is now the driving range, right? So right. What else have they moved, shuffled around for parking, logistics, practice areas, things like that?
Yeah, 1 through 4 are closed. Obviously 2 for good reason. But 1, the first hole is merch, and they got a big merch tent. They also have some corporate tents there. The 16 and 17 holes on number 1 are being used for parking. So people will park across the street and then come over, because that whole road, Morganton Road, is closed. Again, 4 is closed. So I'm sorry, not 1 through 4. 1, 2, 4 are closed, because 3 and 5 are across the street, as you know. Yeah, so those are the 3 courses that are closed. Everything else is up and running.
What is play going to look like on those courses during the Open? Like, are they kind of like in Augusta and surrounding areas? They allow people to play, but rates are going to be a lot higher?
You know, I don't know what it's going to be for the public, but I can tell you that, you know, I have logged into the members' website, because I took Thursday and Friday off this weekend. Thursday being my birthday, I said, the heck with it, I'll take Friday off as well. And I can get on Friday morning on number 6, because I live on 6. I figured I'd stay away from everything else and just stay up here. But yeah, I can get on 6 as a single Friday morning. So yeah, there's some tee times.
Normal rates for you, I guess, because you're a member?
Yep.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Kirsch, you've been to the Pinehurst area. You know, your son Eli's played in the U.S. Worlds or whatever they call it, and you'll be back this August to have him play in number 8 again. What's your thought on the Pinehurst area and how it probably prepares, or how you know it prepares for the U.S. Open?
I wish I would have been to Pinehurst sooner in my life. That after you've been there once, all you want to do is go back. I've been very fortunate to be there at least once a year for the last 4 years now. So jealous of Joe getting to live there. But it is, you know, it's, I think my wife, she came for the first time last year for the last round of Eli's tournament, but got to hang out, play on the Cradle with us, and go to Pinehurst Brewery and do all of those things. And she just like looked out, watched everybody on Thistledew, and looked around. It's like, this is golfers' Disney World. You know, it's like everybody there loves golf. Everybody there, you can have a golf conversation. You can have an architecture conversation. You can have an apparel conversation. You can have a favorite hole conversation, a favorite routing conversation. There's nothing that's not golf related. Everything is named after golf courses, golf holes, golfers. So it's a pretty special place, and for it to be one of the 3 named anchor sites, it just kind of makes sense. And it's easily the most accessible out of them too, and I think that's important for for the USGA and the US Open, is to have accessibility as part of the championship rotation.
Jonathan, you haven't been there yet.
I haven't. And actually, the one thing I find most intriguing about it is the accessibility. I mean, no one lives on anything on the Augusta National because they've bought all the houses surrounding it everywhere. And so to think that you could literally live on number 2. There are going to be people this week that will sit on their back porch, and unlike most days, they won't have the errant shots hitting off of their windows. Instead, they'll just be watching pros drop dimes. And so I'm looking forward to it. We're going on Saturday. Don't know if we're getting inside the ropes or inside the grounds or whatever we might be, but we are going on Saturday. And so I hope it lives up to the expectation. I mean, I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, we're going to go up there. I think we're going to, if we get on the course, maybe we'll record too. She's like, you can't take phones. I'm like, nope, this isn't Augusta. They actually let people just live life and just act like adults. So that's the only comparison I have is the National. And so we'll see what it's like. But I'm looking forward to going on Saturday, and I'm definitely looking forward to going and playing it, because then we can see whether or not I can handle 7,500 yards. I'll have to find a dry day, according to Kirsch, apparently.
Well,
And
you don't need to play 7,500 yards when you go play it.
No,
Right.
no.
And you guys are always welcome. Come on up.
And I think
After all this,
after
and then the North and South is the week after. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
which is amazing.
I think it's important to take some mental snapshots while you're there, and then see it the next time without everything there. Because even if you think about number 12 on number 2 this year comes across the number 4. I think it comes across number 2, 3 tee box area on somewhere around there on the 4th course, and through number 1 green or 2 on on course number 1. They've extended it back that far. They've plowed down trees that it comes through 2 other courses. But guys, there's nothing wrong with the equipment, and we definitely don't need to roll anything back. We're just, everything's fine. Nothing to see here. But yeah, take a lot of mental photos, because then you'll go back, and then you can go and sit down and have something cold and a chicken salad out of a cup, and sit down at the Deuce on the patio, and you just watch a bunch of average Joes coming into one of the greatest golf courses in the world, just sitting there like not a care in the world. And there's not many things in the world like it.
I remember, so last summer around this time, I went and we got to interview Alex Podlagar for the Whole Story podcast. It was amazing. Jonathan was not there, but I did take my son Archie, and he and I got to play number 2, and I was describing it. Joe, I might have been telling you or telling somebody, but I feel like I smiled the entire way around the course, because I remember seeing, the 99, was it 2005, 14, whatever, like the other U.S. Opens that have been played there. And I had visited there before and just seen it. I actually took my daughter to the U.S. Women's Open in 2014. But just being there and getting to play it, experience it. So Kirsch, exactly. I've got so many mental snapshots and memories. I had an iron off the first tee because I have no idea why, but somehow I got it up next to the green, and I'd been told and had mentally prepared, putt everything off the green. Well, of course, where I hit it off the green, there's a guy that had a hose plugged in. He was watering a tee box on number 2. And so I had to hit a wedge, and shaking, somehow I hit the perfect wedge shot that gets up to 5 feet, and I make the putt. So for any pros that don't make a par on the first hole, I'm already going to be like, Robbie's one up. But it's things like that. The accessibility, Jonathan, like you're saying, is one, if you're good at golf, you can qualify and play in the event. But if not, you can wait till the tournament's over and go hang out with Joe and go play it. So it's really cool that you have the opportunity to play a place like Pinehurst, number 2, just like the pros. Joe, when are you going to get out there and play it for the first time? Well,
I guess
first
I'll be
time.
waiting until
Yeah.
as a member. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'll be waiting until after the North-South. So, yeah, maybe we're looking around July 4th week. That'll probably be when I'll be able to get out there.
There you go. Kirsch, have you played number 2 yet?
I'm not. Nope.
Well,
I've not had the chance.
this seems like a good foursome. I think we could make it happen.
Yeah, have car willing to drive.
Absolutely.
I'm getting my 5-iron fixed this week, so maybe we can make that work.
Very nice. All right, so we talked about Scotty earlier and just how dominant he's been. David, you mentioned that he's the odds-on favorite, as I think he would have been even if he didn't win this week. Let's start with this, long shots. Anybody got a long shot out there that I guess anybody besides Scotty probably counts as a long shot. But who are you thinking that might play well that you want to see do well this week? Joe, maybe we'll start with you.
I think Adam Hadwin. I think that's a guy who can play well. He's fairly consistent down the middle. He's a guy who can, I think around the greens he can do what he needs to do in this place. The only other guy I could think of would be Shane Lowry, just because of the whole Irish thing around the greens. But I don't think that he's got the long enough game for that.
He holed out a bunch this week, didn't he?
Yeah. But,
but came home in 85 today, so
yeah,
form is not there.
No.
All right, Jonathan, you got a long shot?
Well, I don't know if it's a long shot, but I am going with my spirit animal this week, Tommy Fleetwood. Hopefully, I get to meet him in some form or fashion if we're there on Saturday. Maybe we'll get inside. It's not like he's from England, so it's not like he hasn't played courses where he's putted from 20 yards off the green. And I think, obviously, Scotty's the favorite until someone just like obliterates him. He's always going to be the favorite. And it's going to take someone, I think we saw this today, it's going to take someone who doesn't crack. I'm not talking about birdies, I'm talking about just pars. It's going to take someone who figures out how to get up and down as often as he does, figure out how to make that, 10, 12-foot putt we were talking about earlier today for the par. And if it's like every other Open, we might be looking at a round par to win the whole thing. So I don't think it's going to be glamour. I think it's going to be someone who just figures out how to play. I don't know. I mean, think about how hard and how fast it could be. I don't know if I think it'll take till Saturday to figure it out, because someone will probably go low at some point, and then just like everything else, someone's going to grind it out. But yeah, Tommy Fleetwood, my spirit animal. I haven't cut my hair yet. Maybe I might get it trimmed this week just to be a little bit closer. So he trimmed his hair. I was a little disappointed in it.
Kirsch, who's your long shot?
I'm gonna say it's a long shot because of the form for the year. The name won't sound like it, but Justin Thomas. I think he's just creative enough, and I think he has all of the types of shots that you would need to. This isn't going to be the dome major like Valhalla, and you're going to need to have a bunch of creative shots. You're going to have to be able to land it 40 yards short of the green and have that pace and bounce just right to run it up on some of them. You're going to have to be able to come in really high. You're going to have to be able to use slopes. You're going to have to do all of those things. And I don't think you have to be the best putter at Pinehurst, because I think that especially on number 2, the actual puttable surfaces of the greens are actually small. I think if you ever put something over it, the actual green size, what's actually puttable on the green is half of the actual area that's cut as a green. So that means once you're up there, a lot of those putts they're going to be fast. There's going to be undulation, but for him, you don't have to be the best putter. You just have to be creative. You got to be able to get up and down, and you have to be able to hit the ball really high, and he can come in both far and long. So I'm going to go with Justin Thomas as my long shot.
Okay. Well, this one wouldn't be a long shot either, only because his official world golf ranking is 36. I won't pick him, but Bryson DeChambeau is the kind of guy that could play well there. He hits it, like you said, a mile in the air. But I'm going to go with Mark Hubbard. He's the 82nd ranked player in the world. He's playing well this year. I think I want to go with a long shot that hadn't gotten it yet. So I'll go with the old Mark Hubbard on that. So, all right.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
With it being so hard, and we think the ball will carry long, what's the longest drive of the week? How far do you think? Like, so these guys are landing what, 330, 340? How far do you think it rolls?
I mean, I was gonna say maybe 350, because I think there's so many run out spots that you're gonna run off the fairway on that line, or you can't carry it on the line that you would need to get it even from the big golfers. So
you're gonna have like 3 woods and 5 woods running it that far?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of less than drivers that just go and go and go.
Yeah, I agree with
Joe?
that 100%.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
All right. Do you have what were you going to say, Jonathan? Do you have anything longer than that?
Well, I mean, if they had the space for it, it sounds like someone's going to hit 400. But the question is, are you out? They always say, at least for amateurs, hit as far as you can, right? The pros obviously are a little bit different because they know exactly where they want to hit it from. But do you think anybody cuts an angle? Do you think anybody uses the waist on purpose to get an angle that no one's thought of? Or is that even a playable option?
I don't, because when they went to Wingfoot in the COVID year, when Bryson just beat the course up and everybody else, they made the fairway so narrow that there was no advantage for being straight. They were too narrow, so even the short and accurate hitters, they couldn't hit them enough to have an advantage for hitting it. They were too narrow. So then it just became who could hit it the farthest. So that played right into Bryson's hands, and you're down there. He gets to hit it far enough. He gets to hit a pitching wedge when everybody else is hitting an 8-iron or a 7-iron, and those kind of things add up. I think they doubled the amount of wiry grass since 14 in there. The grass that's been there has grown up a little bit. I know they've made some adjustments to how the waist areas are going to play, and they're hoping it's going to play more difficult. But you could hit it in there and you may just have a hard pan lie, or you could hit it in there and you're unplayable and you're 4 feet off the fairway. So I don't think the bomb and gouge is going to be as much of a premium as how do I get this ball in the fairway where I can control trajectory and spin and bring it into the greens that are, as everybody knows, domed and turtlebacked. So I think fairway is going to be much more of a premium than just hitting it far this week.
Yeah, I completely agree. I got a few other notes here just to add to that. The average fairway width this week in the landing areas, Jonathan, are going to be between 35 and 45 yards. You think that's a lot? You're coaching some football now. That's not that far.
That's not that far.
When you're hitting it 300 yards to keep it in that range, and you look at Lou Stagner. I'm sure he has stats of how far you hit it to your dispersion and things like that. So it's going to be tough. I think if you can hit it long and straight, but I think Donald Ross was an angles guy. He designed his course to be played at certain angles to where then you would have a shot at the green from the preferred angles. And if you try to veer off course and take a shortcut, like coming at the green is going to be really hard, and you're probably not going to like what you have. So,
and think about that: 35 to 45 yards. Wingfoot was 25 to 30 yards.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep. Green sizes, I think. What did I see? Average green size 6,500 square feet.
That's tiny.
That is tiny. And Jonathan, I've mentioned, and Joe, I think we've talked about it, but Landman, they have a green that's 35,000 square feet. One green. So you could fit a lot of greens, a lot of Pinehurst greens into Landman. So it's going to be a tough test. Do you guys see anybody? We'll pick winners here in a second. Who we think? Do you see anybody going very much under par, if at all? Joe, I'll start with you.
No, I don't think so. I think you'll be 5 under would be a miraculous score here, I think.
Yeah. All right, so let's roll around then and say, what do you think the winning score will be, and who do you think will be hoisting the trophy at the end? Joe, you said around 5 would be miraculous, but what do you really think?
Well, Jonathan, I'll go back to what you said about if somebody can make a run at Scotty, it's got to be someone who isn't going to flinch and isn't going to crack in the moment. Call me crazy. I'm going with DeChambeau at 2 under, just because for that very reason is I don't think he's the one that'll crack. I think we've seen in 3 or 4 of Scotty's tournaments that he's won, those guys made runs at him and then they cracked. And
Kirsch would love for him to crack.
I don't see him doing
He
it.
has a 60-degree and a 56-degree, the length of a 7.5 iron, and he's going to try to have finesse around the Pinehurst green. There's 0 chance he contends. 0. 0.
I love it.
Kirsch just
I love it.
can't stand
0.
He
0.
just can't handle it. Kirsch, would you hate him this much if he didn't play for Liv?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay to have villains. It's okay to have villains. It makes things more interesting.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that he is supremely talented.
Yeah.
And there isn't a single person who, in their right mind, he would be 10 times the. Look at what he did at Valhalla. He airmailed 3 out of the last 7 greens with those ridiculously long wedges because he has no touch and feel with them. Because he I don't care if you play single length irons through your pitching wedge or even your gap wedge, but to extend it through your scoring clubs, your 52, your 56, your 60 in that range, you just can't. That's why his short game is terrible. It just is. And
He's had a couple weeks to practice. Give him a chance.
He just played down in Houston in 100-degree heat.
Yeah.
So he's ready for the heat of the sand hills of North Carolina.
It'll be 95 here Thursday.
Yeah. Jonathan, who you got? What's the score? Who you got?
It's Scotty. I don't know how you don't pick Scotty. Like, I saw the stat today. If he's leading, he's won now 7 out of 13. If he's leading on the final day. With the precision required, if he's having the day, and it sounds like from your guys' assessment, putting won't be that big of a factor. If he is dialed in, 6 under, 7 under. Like, I mean, think about it. If we're talking about loft and accuracy to within a couple yards, everyone says it. And if you don't require the driver, and he can punch his 3-wood out there, he just seems to put it wherever he wants it to go. And I truly believe that it will be the person who just can make the up and down and not get riled up by it. And every time you watch him, it almost looks like he's disinterested in what's going on. He's that unflappable. So I don't know how you pick. It's Scotty versus the field, and I mean, he's probably at 70% and 30% versus the field. So I'm going to go Scotty. I think it'd be great to watch him win. Plus, then Kirsch would have another date that he can throw out the next time we talk about. Scotty hasn't won after June 14th. And, hey, is it Father's Day? How great would that be, right?
Always Father's Day.
His little baby out there coming up on the 18th green, Father's Day. It's Americana at its best.
Kirsch?
I tried to convince myself that it was going to be somebody else. Xander is the first person since 1906 to finish in the top 15 of his first 7 U.S. Opens and not get a win at any point. Xander is built for these courses and this tournament. He will finish in the top 10 with 100%, but Scotty's going to win at -4.
-4. All right. Seth McWhorter, again, he picked Colin Morikawa, which I think is a great pick, who's also built for the U.S. Open kind of stuff. I still, to go with somebody besides Scotty, I'm going to go with Max Homa. Max has got the temperament. I think he can handle missing a green and recovering. I want it to be tough, so I want to see -1 win the thing. Let's go Max Homa -1.
I do think it's going to be tough, right? I think we all agree that the USGA is not going to lighten this up. They got praise for what they did at the U.S. Women's Open a couple of weeks ago, that it was tough and that it really identified people, and nobody was mad that Nelly got a 10. They were excited that Nelly got a 10. They were excited that there was only 2 people under par. And I think that the USGA they have rabbit ears. They hear everything. And the fact that Valhalla played so easy, and that the last 4 PGA Tour events have all been more difficult than Valhalla, is they're gonna crank it up. They're not gonna want the Memorial to be tougher than them. So they're gonna crank it up.
Yeah. All right, let me ask this as we start to wrap up. How does Tiger do? I might see him not making the cut.
I think it all just depends on him
Ooh,
walking.
Joe.
I think I can
Okay.
see his plane flying out of here on Friday night. Yeah.
All right. Jonathan, you say if he's
It's just he won't ever do it. If he would ride a cart, we could watch him play great golf for another 5-10 years. And I understand why he won't, right? Like, I get it. His respect for the game, his respect for at some point you can and at some point you can't. Maybe because it's not as much up and down, this will suit him. Joe, what did you say? Was it Monday you said his practice round is at 7:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
So with all the work that it takes for him to get ready, for him to do a practice round at 7:30, maybe he's feeling better. Maybe his body is in decent condition, because you would expect him to be like a 4 a.m., 3:30 wake-up call to get physically ready to go out and play. So maybe that's an indication that, and we'll know because he just practiced today. So I think tomorrow could be, if you're out there and you've got some inside scoop on it, it'd be really good to know how well he played or how well he did playing back-to-back days that early. And to be honest, from Tiger's perspective, he thinks about everything. He could be doing that on purpose, because if you get out there and you're +6, +7 on the first day for some reason, and all of a sudden you've got the early tee time, he's got to know how his body's going to react to that early tee time.
Kirsch, how do you think he does?
Pinehurst is currently getting a half an inch of rain right now.
Joe, is it raining outside?
Let me go look out my window. I'll be
Not at number 6, only at number 2.
It is
Starting-
not raining at number 6. Right?
Starting tomorrow,
Yeah.
it is going to be 81, 83, 86, 88, 91, 92, 89. Tiger Woods is finally going to have nice weather to play in a major. Pinehurst number 2. The most difficult part of Pinehurst number 2 walking, I'm assuming, is similar to 4 and 3 and 8, is the actual walk between green and tee when you have to walk over some sand. We all know how annoying it is to walk out to your beach chairs. You know, that's why you go set them up and you stay out there so you don't have to make that walk a bunch of times. That's the most difficult part of walking around Pinehurst. And for Tiger to get to play in the heat, and he's going to be sweating like you've never seen a human sweat before. It's going to be pouring off of him, and he's going to make the cut, and he's going to finish in the top 25.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 10. I thought you were going to say 10. That was a good lead up. I thought we were going 10. Kirsch, top 25.
Top
Would
25.
would you take the over under at 20? Would you take the under at 20?
You have to tell me what the score is there. So if the winner's at 4, top 20 is going to be what, +6?
Let's say +5 is the top 20.
I would take the over. I think he's going to end up around that +7, +8 mark.
But he makes the cut.
But he makes the cut.
So Joe's got to go clean his. You got to vacuum his jet if he makes the cut on
I'll
Saturday.
gladly do it. And, you know what's crazy is I was talking to a volunteer, and they actually have volunteers here who their job is just to drive them from their plane to
Yeah.
their vehicle at the airport.
Yeah,
Tiger should have somebody driving him at all points.
that's right.
at the moment.
100%. Yeah.
He should never be behind the steering wheel.
Hire a driver, man. Hire a driver. You can afford it.
Isn't
Right.
Charlie 16 yet?
Is Scotty driving this week or somebody driving him? That's the real question.
Scotty will have a USGA, like, with the local police, like, giving him a ride through. There's no way in the world that ever happens anywhere else. Maybe that's the USG. That's the real thing, right? They want it to be more difficult than Valhalla, other than getting in the morning.
Just put him up at old Donnie Ross's house there, so he can just walk
He just
every
walk
day
out
over
there.
the course.
That's a good point.
Well, I agree with Kirsch. I think he's going to play well enough to make the cut. I think he'll be within the top half at the end of the thing. Within 7-8 shots of the winner's number of Max Homa at -1. But I think he'll be there. I mean, I think, like you've all said, it's flat. It's going to be warm and dry, and it's Tiger Woods, right? He knows how to do it. He's done it before. I think it'll be another great U.S. Open. I'm excited for it. Joe, I hope you have a great birthday as this thing kicks off on Thursday and you're out there. Jonathan and I will be somewhere in the Pinehurst area on Saturday, Friday night and Saturday. So if you see Joe walking around, tell him happy birthday. If you see myself or Jonathan and we're not inside yet and you have tickets, come up to us for sure.
Well, I did find a disappointing thing.
No.
There's no re-entries.
No reentries.
So
No
if someone
worries.
leaves and they want to reenter, they have to have their face scanned.
Scanned, yeah.
So we don't get like in Augusta, you get a one reentry day. So I was hoping maybe we could find someone leaving at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and sneak in, but I don't think that's the way that works here.
No worries. Well, if nothing else, we'll probably be hanging out in the village, maybe over at the roast office. Maybe we'll do some
There you go.
live. Maybe we'll do some live best ball pop-ups on Instagram or YouTube or something. So, but we'll be there. We're excited about it. It's hard to beat Pinehurst. You've heard these guys talking about it. It's just one of the best places for golf. Jonathan, I'm excited for you just to see the area itself. It'd be a lot of fun if we had clubs in hand as well, but neither one of us are 1.4 handicaps, and we didn't qualify this year. But it'll be fun. U.S. Open's one of my favorite tournaments to watch, and so I think it's going to be a great thing. We'll grab these guys and we'll talk more about what happens for a little recap show and get Joe's experience for sure, being out there, being a local. But Kirsch, Joe, Jonathan, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks y'all for joining us.
Absolutely.
Always
Any final thoughts?
Have some fun around Pinehurst. I heard that in the village area, they're going to allow everybody to partake in some libations.
Open container.
Outside. Yeah, so you're going to be able to walk around with a drink in your hand. They're going to have music, I think, every night at the small park in the middle of town. So just go out and have a great time. And look for me. I'll be in downtown. I'll be there Thursday.
You gonna be
say hi.
downtown Friday evening?
Maybe. I know we're definitely going to be there. No, actually, Friday we're going. The members are having a movie thing up at the beach. So we're going to go up there.
Look at this guy.
All right.
I know it, huh?
I think
What you got, Coach?
the only parting thought I would have is, we were on our way we went to a late Sunday service today, and Eli and I may or may not have sat in the car for the first 5 minutes as Scotty was pouring in his last putt, because even to Eli, something historic is happening. And, anytime the U.S. Open is at Pinehurst, it's Father's Day weekend. There's plenty of time to be around your kids. There's opportunities to watch some golf, but whether it's Tiger, getting to see him play two to four more rounds of a U.S. Open at Pinehurst number 2, a place that we know from TV intimately, that you may know from a video game intimately, watching Scotty Scheffler do things that we haven't seen since Primetime Tiger, or somebody coming to take that throne away. Either, no matter what, it's going to be pretty special. So to just sit back and kind of take it all in and enjoy it and appreciate the moment.
Very well said. We'll end with that. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. We appreciate everybody, whoever tunes into these things. It's hard to believe that somebody would listen to us talk about golf. There's plenty of people out there talking. We try to be relevant and fun, and if nothing else, we like hanging out with each other. So we enjoy getting to catch up for a few minutes and talk golf because we love it. We hope you do too. We hope you enjoy watching the U.S. Open. Again, if you're listening to this prior to Sunday, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And we'll be back for the recap. Thanks for listening to the Best Ball Roundtable.